Hello, and welcome to Sobercast. We provide AA speaker meetings and workshops in a podcast format. We are an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us be self-supporting by visiting Sobercast.com, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 into the virtual basket. Also, if you're a member of NA or have friends that are, please tell them about our other podcast, NAPOD. NAPOD features NA speakers and workshops in the same format as Sobercast. We upload a new speaker every day, and it's easy to subscribe by searching for NAPOD, N-A-P-O-D, all one word, on any podcast player app, or go to napod.xyz if you'd like to listen online. Hope you enjoy the podcast and have a great day.
Good evening and welcome to the North Oakland speaker meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Rebecca and I'm an alcoholic and tonight's secretary.
Hi, Rebecca.
Please turn off your cell phones. Please help me to open the meeting with a moment of silence followed by the Serenity Prayer. God,
Grant me serenity to accept things I cannot change, courage to change things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other so that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. This is a speaker meeting. I will speak for 10 minutes and then turn the meeting over to our main speaker, Robert, who will share his experience, strength, and hope. Okay. Speak for 10 minutes. I'm Rebecca. I'm an alcoholic. And I was cooking my grandma dinner when I got a text about speaking, and it's kind of the last thing I wanted to do tonight. The idea of having to stand up in front of a bunch of people that I know and a bunch of cool young people and be honest, is not really something that I would love to jump up and do. So I don't have that long, so I'll just say that I came into the rooms 10 years ago and tried to get sober for a really long time, and was in and out, and in and out with a year, 2 years, not really very sober 2 years, but still got a chip for it. But I had a partner at the time who was sober, so I just kind of, she was my higher power, so it just made it really easy. Anyway, so when she dumped me, I just decided that I was 22 and I should be able to drink, and forgot that serious drug use and that led to mental illness and really pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. I forgot all about that and started drinking again, and all the kind of insane things that happen. I just really relate to the people that have come in and out, or the people that really struggle in these rooms, because I just didn't really get it right away, and it wasn't I was half-assing it. I actually really wanted to stay sober, and I felt I understood the first step, and I felt powerless, and I just couldn't really get it. But all of my friends were in the program, and most of the wreckage that I did was in the program, just because I was in and out for so long, and a lot of people in these rooms have picked me up and dealt with me when I was really fucked up, and I've like almost burned down people's houses in here, and like just was like really, really fucked up. And then like my mom got diagnosed with cancer when I was 25, and that kind of just changed my whole world. And I learned how to show up for her from like I had a sponsor this like who had like a ton of time, and her partner had died of cancer, so she kind of helped me show up for that. And I relapsed like one last time before she died, and they say that, you know, we won't regret the past, but I don't actually, I mean, I accept it, but I definitely regret, or I am really bummed about the places that my disease took me when my mom was dying. Like I basically left my mom in a hospital room and took drugs and left her there, and that was the last time I saw her. So that was enough to get me, like, I guess some reason it worked this time. And I've been back since, and it's been like 2.5 or almost 3 years, and I did the same things that I did the last times I was here, so I don't really know what to say when people are like coming in and out, and they're like, well, you did that, so what did you do differently? Like, I don't really know what I did differently. Like, I go to less meetings than I did, and I pray, and I do all the same things, and but I don't know, I guess you just get it when you get it. So it's definitely a lesson in, like, I just have a tremendous amount of compassion for people who have come in and out, and I see, like, I felt like a lot of love, but also a lot of judgment from coming in and out, and I really try not to do that. And I just had a friend who I really, really love go out, and it was so hard for me to not have judgment about it. I was just like, why are you doing, like, I just, like, hating the disease so much. I definitely didn't think I was going to cry. I called my sponsor, and, thanks. I called my sponsor, and, she said all that stuff, like, you know, it's like, let go of your ego, and it doesn't really matter, like, you're there for the new people, and so it was good to hear all the new people in the room, and that whole saying about you're the most important people, I actually get that now. Like, when I was coming in and out, I was like, I'm the most important person, so, like, you guys, why isn't everyone, like, worried all the time about me? Which people, I mean, people kind of were, but, like, when I came back this last time, I'd be like, I'm a newcomer, like, I can't believe she said that to me. And then my sponsor's like, you're not really a newcomer, honey. Like, you're not, like, that whole, like, newcomer, oh, it's a newcomer, like, you know what's going on. So it doesn't work. Like, you've been around. So, I don't know what else to say. Like, when I came in I never really left. Like, I was in the program the whole time. My mom was dying, and then I've been in like 15 rehabs and treatment centers and had all these like other outside issues, and for me, that they just kind of went away, but I definitely don't think that the steps are the, like, answer to, like, every other, like, mental illness and depression and all that stuff, because I see in sponsoring people that, like, I don't have the answers for all that other stuff. Like, all I know is that if some doctor, and if you're doing whatever you need to do, like, for your health, then I can help you. Like, I only know how to stay sober, so that's, I really like, it makes it really easy for me, because I don't have to, like, give people advice about anything. I'm just like, I guess you should pray about that, or like, it used to really make me mad. My sponsor, like, always says that. Like, I'm like, you know, it's like, well, just, you know, I think you should pray about it. It's like, well, fuck you. Like, I like like, I need, a little bit of an answer. Like, I'm not going to get an answer from praying about it. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, I don't know. I do all that stuff, and, like, I hate AA sometimes, and I really don't like young people sometimes, and, I mean, if you're new and, like, it seems, like, really intimidating because everyone's, like, really hip and has tattoos and all that, then, like, just, like, we're all really lame anyway, so just, like, we're really awesome, but, like, just, you know, we're all, like, scared people, and so, like, sometimes I even realize that I'm not saying hi to new people because I'm, like, in my own shit, and then I'm excited to see people that I know, and I have to, like, make an effort, so... I remember, like, I would come to meetings, like, no one said hi to me, you know, like, when I was new. Feeling sorry for myself or whatever, so. If that's how you feel, like, that's okay. You can, like, hate us, but just keep coming back. And, I don't know, like, I feel, like, pretty good about myself and all that cliche stuff. Like, I think I'm pretty awesome, and, like, I definitely didn't think that. I didn't even know who I was. Like, till this last time. and the reason people are laughing is because, like, I had, like, a lot of other issues. Like, having to do with, like, gender identity and stuff like that. But, yeah, my disease just took me to, like, really, like I just was so lost, and, it's nice to be somewhere where, like, people think that's funny, because it's, like, it's really not that funny, like, in, like, a work environment. It's, like, kind of hard to explain. So anyway, thanks for listening, and, yeah. Okay, now I'd like to turn the meeting over to tonight's speaker, Robert.
I'm an alcoholic. My name's Robert. Hi. I haven't had a drug or a drink since November 1st, 1982. I know. Boo. My sponsor's name is Chip. His sponsor's name is Parker, and Parker's sponsor's name is something like Big Earl or something weird like that. I'm not even sure if he's real, but I live in San Francisco. I really hate Berkeley. Luckily, I think technically we're in Oakland. Good, solid. Lately, the thought has been, what would my story be like if I wasn't attached to the stories that I tell? Most of you don't know me. Some of you know me. But for the most part, in like a second, I could tell you that, I was a punk. I was a male prostitute. I lived nowhere. I was strung out. I tried to clean up. It didn't work. I died in a bathtub. I was committed. When I got out of the commitment, I came to AA, and I mean, where else to go? And a guy at a meeting was like, have you done your fourth step yet? And I said, no. And he said, shut up and don't come back until you've done your fucking fourth step. So I opened up the big book and found out what a fourth step was and wrote it and went back to the meeting. He wouldn't sponsor me, and the hippie guy would. And I hated the hippie guy, but he was amazing, and he saved my life at the end. And, like, that's really not the end. And that sells, like, my experience really short. To bore the shit out of you with what it's like to shoot heroin and shoot speed and take pills and get a high on Quaaludes and humiliate myself and everybody I know and break their hearts over and over and over again until there was no one left but me, convinced it was all your fault. And came to AA, and it was even worse. Because I think I really related to what you had to say, sitting in a room full, at the time, in the early 80s, it was hippies. Ugh. Just, wow, man, groovy. And you're just like, ah! I was like literally sitting in a candlelight meeting in a swastika t-shirt thinking, I fucking hate you. Like, and it was horrible. And I didn't want to be here. And I had to be here. I mean, my thick cement head knew that this was it. And I didn't really know what you had when I wanted it so bad. And I didn't know that was what I wanted. I had no idea. I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew that when I drink a beer, it's 3 days later and my pants are down around my ankles and somebody's fucking me, and it's like, ugh, you know. It's highly likely I'm not even gay, you know. Get out of me, and give me money. My mom was Miss San Francisco, 1959. My dad was a deadbeat, a beatnik who didn't write or read. His nickname was Moondoggy, and he carried broken bongo drums around under his arm in North Beach. And he drank and smoked what they called pot, which was, I don't know what it was. It was like dirt, but they fell in love because my dad was about to inherit millions of dollars. And they immediately started throwing shit at each other and fighting. And they stayed together an extra 8 years because they had me. And I left home when I was 12 because my families had sort of familied. My mother married the guy she met like a week before she met my dad, and my dad had more money, so she married my dad. And the guy she met before stayed in touch with her all throughout her marriage, hoping it would fail. And when it failed, he stepped right in, and they got married and had my sister, and made a happy home. And my father did the same. He married this Portuguese lady with big, huge boobs and a prenup so he could keep his money. And they adopted a girl and then had a girl, and they were sorted. So it was like these two families that wanted nothing to do with me. And like my mother was just surprised the whole time. And my father treated me as if he'd raised me and hadn't ever fucked me. And he had. And I didn't belong in any of those families. And what I did was I just ran away. And that was great. It just ground me right down into a pulp where I belonged. And I was really, really happy to be homeless and punk rock. And I knew Josh then. He can back up most of the stories I would tell, or at least lie for me. And I came to AA because I was institutionalized, and they took me to meetings, and I drank caffeinated coffee and felt like whoop 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 whoop, and I didn't know what you were talking about. Like it was like blah 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 blah. I didn't understand anything that was happening. Yay! It was like, oh, fuck you, and I didn't care. I mean, one hallmark of my recovery really is that I always have a better idea. You know, if you want to go to Thai food, let's go to Indian. Like, you know, or if you know a cute little restaurant, I know a cuter little restaurant. Like, I've always got a better idea. And arrogance. But that was true then. And so you're all going, rah, 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 and I'm thinking, I got a way better idea than this shit. And when they let me out, like, it was a choice. You can go to Minnesota and finish high school, and that's just going to be wonderful, and live in a board and care home, or we'll give you $5 in a bus transfer, and you can go. And guess what I chose? You know, I took the fucking bus transfer. I got the fuck out of there. And I went right back to the street where I came from. And I didn't drink. I don't really know why, but I was a lot heavier, and I wasn't very cute. And I didn't know, I had nowhere to go. I didn't know what to do. So I tried to resume my life of nothing at Durant and Telegraph, just standing there, you know, like one of 11 punk rockers in the entire county, just standing there like, what the fuck? And it was just, it was horrible. Like, it was horrible. There's nothing worse than, like, being fat in a Hawaiian shirt and, like, bell-bottoms and sneakers, like, on a corner with my curly, half-black, half-brown hair going, $1 off, like, trying to hand out coupons to people that are just like, you know, they'd stop and read it and then give it back to me, and you're like, I hate you. Like, it was just hell. And so I decided that the problem was that I didn't have any friends. I needed to get my fucking friends back, and that was going to solve my problems. And it had to be the problem. I'd conveniently forgotten that I fucked every single one of them over. If I hadn't actually physically fucked them, I'd stole their record collection or fucked their mom or did something just horrible. And they wouldn't talk to me. They hated me. That's why I didn't have any friends. I don't know. I didn't remember any of that. So I thought if I went to the Lude show and told them, you know, awesome, it's me, dude, it's good, it's on. And I got my hair as spiky as I could, and I went to the show, and I drank. My plan was to get my friends back. I'd like been saying this shit to myself over and over all the way there. And I got to the Tool and Die, and I just drank. And then it was 3 days later, and I was fucked up. just fucked up. Swiss cheese arms and black and blue with fucked up feet, just in Palo Alto, like, what the fuck? So it wasn't that I didn't have any friends. That wasn't the problem. But that day I had my first spiritual awakening, and I was sitting on the F-bus going over the Bay Bridge in hot Indian summer with shit in my pants and dried blood on my face, and my feet were just throbbing. And what I realized was that whatever it was they were trying to tell me, because, when I got out of the institution, they all sat around me in that little circle, with the counselor and the counselor by the door and the TV set and the weird coffee machine, and they're all going, uh-uh. And I'm like, what? And they're like, you're not going to stay sober. And I'm like, I'm too. And they're like, no, you're not. And they all went around the circle and told me why, because I hadn't listened to a word they said. And I'm like, yeah, I did. And they're like, no, you didn't. And I said, yeah, I did. And they said, you didn't. And I said, I did. I fucking did. Like, I was all upset at Hallie's feelings. And they were like, well, what did we tell you? And I'm like, fuck you. I didn't want to tell them. I had no idea what they were trying to tell me. I had no idea. I was fat and I felt weird and I didn't like it. And I didn't know what to say. So what I felt sitting on the bus in my own filth was that they were right. Whatever it was they were trying to tell me, whatever it was, they were right. And that to me was amazing. That was a miracle. That was really the birth of my spiritual life. Because no one was right. Like, if I was holding your television set and you said, dude, that's my TV, it wasn't your TV. And I would fucking break the TV and fight you before I would admit that that was your TV. Nobody was right, ever. My worldview was that if you had my childhood, you would be as fucked up as possible all the time, just like I was. I had a right to steal your fucking TV. You are a squirrel in a trendy new wave Luther. I am the real thing. I need it. You want it. And so come and get it, bitch. Like, that was my whole attitude. And I couldn't have even said that to you at the time. I did it. I didn't have those words. I had no language to describe how I felt other than fuck you. That was all I could say for myself. And it was very effective at clearing the decks and cleaning the house and ending any possibility of friendship or connection or relationship or anything. And I liked it like that. Because I didn't have to look at myself. I didn't have to feel anything, and that really helped a lot. So, to admit that whatever it was they were trying to tell me that they were right was too much for my little brain. And what I did was I tried to get back into the institution, the mental institution where I'd been, by pounding on the door, and my counselor came out and said, here's the AA schedule, go. And I went to the Berkeley Fellowship, which was in a portable classroom. And it was, 8 people in a discussion meeting. And I went in and sat down, and this guy was like, how are you? He was like super glad to meet me. He was like, oh, good. And he came over, he sat down, and I smelled horrible. I still had my own poop in my pants. And he's like, hey, buddy. Like, he was stoked. And then everybody at the meeting discussed. They did their thing. And then the whole meeting went. And I felt very uncomfortable. And I said, do you want me to talk? And they're like, uh-huh. So I talked about what had just happened to me, which was waking up in fucking Palo Alto and having shit in my pants. And I started to talk about heroin. And when I started to talk about heroin, this guy with no teeth that was like, how are you, Mr. fucking Happy, was like, outside issue. And I'm like, what? And he's like, this is Alcoholics Anonymous, Sonny. We talk about alcohol here. So I figured he was throwing me out because he was the oldest guy, so he had to be the guy with the most sobriety, the dude in charge, right? So I left. I just left the meeting and stood outside and smoked a bunch of cigarettes and didn't know what to do. And people left, and this guy, Zach, it's 1982, so he's wearing like a black and teal and white snowflake cardigan. And he's got sort of whaler cords on, you know what whaler, really thick corduroys. And I think he's wearing like moccasins. And he comes crunching across the pea gravel, with his hands in his pocket like a model. And he had really cute hair. And I was just like, who's this guy? Like, kind of, my mind is clicking. Like, what can I do with this guy? Because he's looking at me, and he walks right up to me and he goes, "How you doing?" And he walks in the meeting, and I just felt at ease. It was like, that guy was cool. Like, it didn't dawn on me he was wearing a really ugly sweater, but that made me feel great. And I thought, well, you know, I got nothing to do. I mean, I might as well go to the meeting. So I went back into the meeting. The only people at that meeting were Zach in the snowflake sweater, me, and the guy who had just thrown me out of the meeting. So fucking Toothless is sitting over here making coffee. And I'm standing in the doorway, not sure whether I should come in because I'm a little scared of the old guy. And Zach is shuffling papers up at the desk, like up here. And I'm looking at the old guy, and the old guy's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me. And Zach starts the meeting, and he does all the reading. He didn't hand anything out. He read everything. And then it's a discussion meeting, and he has to choose. Is he going to choose me to begin the discussion? Or is he going to choose the Toothless fellow to begin the discussion? Well, bless his heart, he chose me. And so I talked about waking up in Palo Alto and I'm shitting my pants, fucking my arms up with heroin, and this old dude threw me out of the fucking meeting. The guy has a fit. He's just like, outside! I just couldn't hear it. And so I thought, I went like I was going to beat the guy up, right? Like, so I'm like shaking and I'm all fucked up and I got shit in my pants and and the guy's like looking at me like, oh my God, he's going to hurt me. And Zach just swooped me right out of the meeting. We're standing on the pea gravel. And he's like, don't listen to that guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Just then he circled some meetings in my little folded up meeting schedule that I'd just been given. And see, what I didn't know then that I know now is that this is fellowship. This is great. Isn't it great? I'm here to tell you how I had a spiritual awakening that was sufficient to recover from alcoholism. Because, dude, I could not stop drinking. I mean, I would start a beer and time travel. Like, I had no power over it. I could get so shitty off of the smallest amount of whiskey that people didn't even believe I was drunk. Like, they thought, what are you doing? Get up. You're fucking around. Or I could drink all night long and nothing would happen but mean. And it just was baffling to me, but I always did it, and I couldn't stop doing it once I started. And that's why I'm here. And I want to meet newcomers. I want to carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous to you, if I can. So if you hate me and you think, who's this dude? Like, that's a resentment. Call your sponsor and work it out. Get close to your sponsor. I mean, that's what we do here, because Alcoholics Anonymous isn't fellowship. Alcoholics Anonymous is in the book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's 12 steps. And those steps are portable, they're expandable, and they're limitless. I don't think they can help you with your bipolar. I don't. But they've changed my fucking life, and here's how. Step 1. Admitted we were powerless over alcohol. Our lives had become unmanageable. Fuck. I knew I was powerless over alcohol when I was 12. Like, I knew it. I mean, I was the guy who, when I went to go spend the night at my friend's house, sorry if you've heard this 1,000 times in the last month. But, see, I went out to get in the cabinet above the oven, you know, where the alcohol was supposed to be, because that's where my family kept it. And I was going to drink myself to sleep at a sleepover party at my friend's house, and there's no alcohol in there. And so I'm up on the chair, rooting around, and the mom comes in the kitchen and finds me. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm just like, oh, I was thirsty. And so, like, she gets me a glass of water and puts me back in the bedroom, in my sleeping bag with my glass of water, and I haven't had anything to drink. So I'm just like, hey, I want my mom. And they call my mom comes to get me, takes me home, and they all go to bed, and I go drink myself to sleep. Like, that's what I was doing at 9. So at 12, I was fully aware that I was powerless over it. I mean, I loved that. It made me different. It made me special. It made me better than you, as I described already. But I didn't understand that had made my life unmanageable. It took a sponsor walking around the block by the Pink Flamingo Hotel on University Avenue telling me, you know, normal people whose lives are manageable, they have an address, they have a phone number, they pay their bills, they wash their clothes, they have a bathroom. And, like, it was like, really? Like, I had developed this worldview that it was me against the world, that you were the problem. If we could just get rid of you, I would be fine. And that's insane. That's insane. That's unmanageable. You can't live alone. And I apparently thought I could. And the truth is that what drove me to work with a sponsor and work step one was that I wanted that really bad. I really wanted to have a phone. I really, really, really wanted to have a bathroom. I wanted to have an apartment. I wanted to have a girlfriend. I wanted to have a job. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to read books. I wanted to feel okay in my own skin, and I never had. And I didn't know that that was what I wanted. I had no idea that that would have filled my heart and made me whole. I had no clue. I thought you were the problem, and if we could just get rid of you, I'd be fine. So I spent my life getting rid of everybody and just obfuscating myself as deeply as possible so that I could be alone, because that was when it would be okay, and it was never okay. Being alone was way worse than being in a room full of people that hated me. So I was fucked. And that is alcoholic thinking. And so when I admitted that my life was unmanageable, in addition to the obvious powerlessness over alcohol, I was able to begin working on the rest of the steps. And step two, there couldn't possibly be a God, because my point of view was, well, my second sponsor, Jeffrey, said, what do you know about religion? And I said, it's a social control. It's designed to oppress people and make them work like dog fuckers until they, they're going to go to heaven when they're dead. So it's basically fodder for idiots. And he said, what do you know about religion? And I said, I just told you. And I started to tell him again that it's a social control designed to oppress people. It's for idiots. And he said, so you don't know anything about religion? And I said, what do you mean? I was pissed. And he said, have you ever been to a church? And I said, no. And he said, have you ever been to a synagogue? I said, no. He said, have you ever been to a mosque? I said, no. He said, have you ever read the Bible? I said, no. He said, have you ever read the Gita? I said, no. He said, have you ever read the Quran? I said, no. He said, so you don't know anything about religion. And he was right. I mean, that's the contempt prior to investigation that I felt standing in front of, co-op, afraid to go in, because I felt like if I had to go into co-op by myself, people would look at me, and I couldn't handle that, so I wouldn't go in. I'd just stand out front and wanting to go in. Like, it's the same contempt prior to investigation. I predict the future. The future is going to be bad. Therefore, everything is going to fall apart, and I'm going to die and be alone, and no one likes me. Like, that's alcoholic deductive reasoning in a nutshell. That's the way I live my life. And if I'm not careful, that's the way I live my life today. So I know it's alcoholism, not the byproduct of having drank a lot of alcohol. It's a mental condition that I carry with me. It's an illness. So this power greater than myself is supposed to restore me to sanity. I'm confused by the word restore, because there had never been any sanity, at least none that I remembered. And power greater than myself had to be Jesus, right? And so there couldn't be that. We couldn't do that. And my first sponsor said, well, how about if it's just like us? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, suddenly I see purple hoods and and a little dramatic. And so he says, well, God could just be an acronym. It could be G-O-D. It could stand for group of drunks, couldn't it? I mean, look around you. And I looked around me, and we talked about this, because it was a really big issue for me, and I didn't want to take the second step. And really what it came down to was that there were people coming into AA, and I had years of sobriety, like 2.5 years. And people came in and got 90 days sober. And they had clean clothes, they had girlfriends, they had brand new trucks, they had jobs, and they were like, wanting, excited to share at meetings. And when they got called on, they'd be like, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. And dude, I was just like, fuck, like I hated you. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck are you grateful for? Like, why? Because for me, my life hadn't changed at all. 2 years sober, I'm still sleeping in a 3-foot-tall plywood trailer where I have to go across the parking lot to take a shit in the fucking pizza parlor when the manager's out, and he's wise to me. So I would go in the bathroom, and he'd come back because he knew I was going to be in there, and he'd pound on the door, and I'm sober. And it's just awful, but I wouldn't join you. And so James, in his sweetness and his calmness and his patience and all that hippie stuff I made fun of, bless his heart, that guy had infinite patience, infinite love for me, and he just engaged in this conversation that didn't end for me until I put it together. That, like, if I do what you do, I'll get what you've got. And to my mind, that meant I would get a truck, and I would get a girlfriend, and I get clean clothes, and people would call on me when I raised my hands at meetings. I didn't get called on at meetings at this point because early in my recovery, before I had a sponsor, people would talk about spirituality. They would talk about God as they understand God. And to be fair, in the early 80s, people talked a lot about their higher power, who is Jesus Christ, our Savior, Lord. And if any of y'all aren't sober tonight, I feel sorry for you. And when somebody said some shit like that, no matter how dainty they were, I went, ah! With the chair. And I did. I threw chair after chair across the room because to me, you were saying you will never be happy. You will never be sober because you haven't accepted Jesus. And I just was just like, fuck! I just couldn't. I wanted to be sober, but I didn't know what to do. And that's why I needed this sponsor. That's why I needed his infinite patience and love to indulge me in this long conversation that you might be a power greater than me. And you were. I started to clean ashtrays and put away chairs. I got an apartment. I got a phone. I got a phone number to go with the phone. There was a bathroom in the apartment, and there was a laundromat down the street, and my life completely changed. Just like that. It was amazing. And so I trusted James then in a way that I would never have trusted anybody before that. He was right. And so step 3, I started the whole rebellion all over again because I wasn't going to turn my will and my life over to Jesus. I mean, it's the same default mechanism. You know, when I wake up in the morning, I'm out of my fucking mind, and I need to pray and meditate and surrender and let go. So at the time, it was substantially more dramatic than it is now. And he just said, just write your 4th step. So we talked about what a 4th step was. And a 4th step, in the big book, you know, I saw that diagram about Mr. Brown and Mrs. Brown and the house is getting taken away and it's really just fear. And that seemed easy to me. So James explained it like this. I'm full of resentment, full of it. And a good example of a resentment is Fred. I resent Fred because he's a dick. He cock blocks me. He talks shit about me. He turns people against me, and I just don't like him. It affects my self-esteem, my personal relationships, my serenity, my relationship with God, my ability to be of service in AA meetings, therefore my sobriety. It affects everything, this dick Fred who cock blocks me. So what's the truth? Let's look at the 4th column, right? Fear, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid that he's right. I'm afraid that he doesn't like me. I'm afraid nobody likes me. I'm afraid that nobody loves me, that I'll never be loved, that I've never been loved, and I'm going to be alone. Fucking terrified of it. That's the truth. So is it self-centered? Yes. I'm only thinking of myself. I'm not thinking of Fred at all, or the people he's talking to, or anybody else but me, and what's going to happen to me. Is it dishonest? Yes, it is. How is it dishonest? It's dishonest because I've never met Fred. I don't know Fred. I have no idea if he's ever said anything about me, or if what he and the cuties are talking about has anything to do with me. In fact, one day at high noon, he looked at me funny, and I said hi, and he didn't say hi back, and so I made up the rest. You ever go to a meeting in a bad mood and then, like, your friends don't talk to you for a couple of weeks and they kind of like, hey, like, they're going through that resentment. That's what it is. And it's just because I'm an alcoholic and that's the way my brain works. It's all about me. And the end of every fucking resentment is I'm going to be alone. And so, if I can push everybody away and be all by myself and really think my feelings over, I'll be okay. Alcoholics are the only people I know who treat loneliness with isolation. It doesn't work. So I did a 4th step, and I wrote all my resentments in that way out on paper. And then I wrote a fears list, everything I'm afraid of, everything, that wasn't as much as I thought there'd be. It's a pretty short fears list. Spiders. There was some other stuff on it. And then I wrote my sexual inventory, which was based on some questions on 68, 69, 70, and 71. And I wrote who, and then I answered yeah, no, yeah. And then what should I have done instead, which was keep my hands to myself. Take no for an answer. Say no when I mean no. Things like that. And then I did my fifth step, and I read all of it, to James in his, what was it? It was a really ugly car. Anyway, we were sitting at the Berkeley Marina, and I read the whole thing to him, and he told me stories that were way worse than mine. And from that sexual inventory, I came up with a sexual ideal, which was all of what I should have done instead, stuffed together in one list. And he said, when you're that man, your partner will appear. And man, I didn't ever think I'd ever be able to be that man. And that ideal has changed over the years as I've continued to write inventories. But it was pretty cool. So when I had a dating question of my sponsor who had no opinion at all on dating, except for that it was amazing, I found anybody that was willing to date me. He said, I don't know, man. What does it say in your sexual ideal? And then I would look at the list, and if it wasn't on there, dude, it was go. And if it was on there, I gotta pray about it. And I didn't want, that's just how we handle it. You gotta grow. And sometimes growing means making mistakes. Sometimes growing means trying really, really hard and failing. 6 and 7 at the first time through, I called my sponsor upstairs to make sure it was okay that my book wasn't on the shelf. And he said, take it off the shelf, put it on the shelf, and then you can take it down. And that's what I did. And I sat quietly listening to the light buzz, for an hour. And then I said the 7th step prayer, and I was on to making an 8th step list, which took me 2 years to write. But 6 and 7 have come to mean something quite different to me now. 6 and 7 are really active steps, and they're not about improving my tardiness. They're not about my opinion of myself. What they are is they're in the 4th column of my inventory. There's a whole bunch of fear, a whole bunch of self-centeredness, and a whole bunch of dishonesty. And the question is am I willing to have God remove any of that? And the answer, terrifyingly enough, most of the time is no. Because who the fuck would I be without my character defects? Nobody. And I need them. I have to have them, because what will I do without them? I mean, well into sobriety, I just could not tell you how tall I was. I couldn't tell you how old I was. I couldn't tell you where I was really born. I couldn't tell anyone the truth about any detail about myself. So I'm in rooms sober, 6 years sober, with people over there think my name is Javier. Somebody over there thinks my name is Claude, and I'm from Quebec. And just bullshit. And you're just and you're with people from AA, and you're just oh, and it's a terrible moment when those worlds collide right in front of you. It's just a terrible moment. And my sponsor had other suggestions besides this. I mean, the suggestion was raise your hand and say that's a lie, and then tell the truth, which is really funny at AA meetings, but at work, it's really weird. But it works. It really works. The way it worked was I was sitting at, I don't know what it's called now, but there was a coffee shop, Cafe Roma, at college and right by the university, whatever. But I was sitting there, and a couple that I really liked from AA meetings came by, and they were like, hey, it's the That's a Lie guy. Because I was getting big laughs in AA in Berkeley going, oh, that's a lie. And then tell the truth. It was a comedy routine. And they didn't even know my name. I really liked them. They're really nice people. They were always of service. They were always at the groovy meetings. They were really lovely people. And they didn't even know my name. I was the That's a Lie guy. And they were like, do it. I felt really humiliated and really used, and I went to see my sponsor. I was like, "You don't even know my name. They wanted me to do it." And he's like, "That's a good reason to stop lying, isn't it?" And it was like, and I think that's actually how I stopped lying. It was thanks to being made a fool of for making a fool of myself, at least for the most part. at any rate, so 6 and 7 today mean that when I find myself in the middle of a character defect, I watch my mind and see how I am. I pause in the moment. So I'm at the bank, which is a kiosk at Safeway now, and I feel I'm in line, and everybody in line has money, and they all look nice, and I'm demoralized and dehumanized in a kiosk at Safeway, and I've forgotten that it's awesome that my bank's open till 9, 7 days a week. Instead, I'm humiliated and oppressed by capitalism, and San Francisco sucks now, and the whole world's falling apart. Everything was fucking better back in the 70s when there were Quaaludes. Oh, really? Stop talking already.
It's fun.
So, it's fun. Thank you. So, what I say in that moment is, God grant me the willingness to be free of the defective character of fear, which leads me to believe that it's not going to be okay. May I be happy, may all beings be happy, that I will not mine be done. And that line changes. All that hatred and all that fear, all that resentment just disappears. I don't have to waste my time with that stuff at the end of the day, because in that moment it's gone. It's beautiful. The truth is I'm overdrawn, and I've got a check from New York that they're going to put a 45-day hold on, and I'm just scared I'm not going to get what I want. I'm sure I'm not going to get what I want because I don't think I'm worth it. I need the 6th and the 7th step in that moment to save my fucking soul. Because I can't do that alone. Alone, capitalism has failed, and I'm a marginalized refugee. Poor me. And that's just not true. It's a lie. So with 6 and 7, it's just gone. And I can go, hi, and tell the lady at the counter my problem. 8 is just a list. It's just a list. I was so terrified of 9, I waited 2 years to write that stupid list, and I wrote it with snot coming out of my nose and tears and a pencil and a Post-it magnetic note off my sponsor's refrigerator. And it's just a list. And what was cool about that list was to convert it into the 9th step. We looked at the names, and he said, okay, how did you harm capitalism? And I said, and he said, you didn't. And I said, oh my God, thank you. And so we scratched it off the list. And we did that to a lot of things on my 8-step list. And then I went to make my amends. And the amends was people, I was so scared of the money thing. And people who I stole money from, people are happy to get their money back. They really, they don't want to see me, but they really want their money back. And they'll say, oh, well, it's great, boy, thank you. And they'll take the money. And that's the end. Good. But what's really hard is to be a better brother. What's really hard is to be a better son. That's really confusing. I wore fucking khaki pants and topsiders and tennis sweaters to my dad's outdoor parties for years, trying to be a better son to the man that molested me and just abandoned me and wasn't fucking there for me. And in the end, when I had my own child in my own arms and my father on the other end of the telephone going, I want to see that little boy, it was like, ah! It's not an amends to kiss his ass. It's not an amends to lie to him. So just fucking fuck you was my amends to my dad. But it was really amazing to pay back the money for the slashed tires and to admit that the crank phone calls in the middle of the night were me and to come clean. It's the living amends that are confusing and hard and change. But really, I took so much from this world that the 9th step's never over. I owe a debt I'll never be able to repay. 10 saved my life. Seeing how I am every day. The end of the day, reviewing my day. I got a big armload of me. And 11 was a place to put that, was to foster and nourish a relationship with a power greater than myself that I didn't invent, that actually you taught me. I mean, really, you gave me God in a way that I could digest enough to survive. And, wherever you are with that, if you're as angry as I was when I was new, or if you're pretty sure that whatever path you're on right now is the right one and everybody else should be on it, good luck with that. But, I mean, the point is that it grows. My heart just keeps opening. And I'm having a revolutionary experience right now with prayer and meditation in my life. It's changing my life, opening my heart. And I'm so grateful for the ears of the newcomer. With 27 years sober, I'm always beginning, always returning. I never want to know. I know less than I've ever known. I'm sure of less than I've ever been sure of. All I know is that step 12 is the spirit of service in Alcoholics Anonymous, and that if I can give it away and people ask me for it, then I can stay sober. And it creates room for new energy to flow through me, which has just continued to change my life. Just keep coming back. That's all I did. It's not about what you look like. This isn't my social group. My home group isn't even my social group. It's my spiritual community. You're saving my soul. You're saving my life. It's the only treatment I know for alcoholism. And, try a little test. Don't go to a meeting for a week. Look at how batshit fucking crazy you are. And then after the meeting, oh my God, everything's amazing. And it's not dinner, I promise. That's not what it was. It was the meeting. So just keep coming back. Get a sponsor if you don't have one. Work the 12 steps if you haven't done it. Work them again if it's been a while. Just keep coming back. And more will be revealed as it continues to be revealed to me. Thank you so much for my life.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Sobercast is ad-free, and we'd like your help in order to keep it that way. So if you'd like to help us be self-supporting by pledging $1 or $2 a month, visit Sobercast.com and look for the donate links. Thank you very much.